Sorry about that. How's it going, everybody? Just making sure. Okay, that's there. That's there. How's it going? This is me, Daniel Outlaw. Hopefully, actually, sorry. There a little bit. It's a little professional for me to put my stuff up in front. Switch stuff up during the lead time. But I wanted to at least get this happening. Now I can start it, and I'm gonna start up these. It's gonna probably change up because this is gonna be kind of long, and I'll explain this in a sec. This is from the band Cadis Coyote, the album Choose Your Weapon. Okay, I don't want to be too loud because I don't want it to be distracting. Okay. Now, the topic for today is potential neurodiversity. I had a thought, but it just left me. Actually, let me see. Wasn't that poem, but I'll just add this at the side. Okay, in case I forget, because my short-term memory is pretty shot, so I write things down, keep them in mind. I forget short-term stuff really easily, so I'm either focusing on that really hard and failing at actually reciting this. I'm just writing it down so that I won't have to worry about it. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So let's talk about potential neurodiversity. Okay, shifted. Okay, so potential neurodiversity. Now, usually with this, I don't know if anybody noticed, but I've kept the volume really low. I'm thinking it's for the feedback, but it shouldn't be for the effect of the actual microphone, given I'm real close and stuff. So so for me, for this, that's just a tidbit. But for this, I brought my little drawing pad and I've written down my notes and such. Not that I'm going to remember all this, but I'm going to be doing a lot of recitation because I just can't hold the all the information without veering off somewhere and being impulsive and this thought, that thought, and then I'll lose my train of thought. So which may be considered, it's called a train of thought because it's a string of thoughts. I just thought about that. Okay, so potential neurodiversity. So what do I mean by neurodiversity? Given my searching, given my searching and my findings, I have I've understood the concept of neurodiversity being that you have people who are regular people, and my mother, she said it right. It was who really is normal. The Bible, it says, everybody has sin. So not everybody don't have the concept of a fulfilling and perfect and loving healthiness as a whole within themselves from birth. They just don't. We live in a fallen, broken world in which people's fallenness and brokenness spill off into each other and brings create new forms of brokenness. And from the womb to the tomb, we all engage in some sort of brokenness. And the DSM-5 just further elaborates in our human fancy scientific terms of what those that form of brokenness is. Whether it's you fear abandonment because you've had abandonment, and now that reflects off into current relationships that don't show signs of abandonment, or show signs of like social anxiety because of your thoughts in your mind, where you consider, what if they, like, considering the worst. Like, I just think a lot of these things are sin. They're things that just lead to further brokenness. Lead to uh, unfulfilled desires, actions that bring unfulfilled desires, actions that aren't going to fully satisfy, or just ignorance in itself, actions in ignorance. So I just wanted to bring that up, is that compared to both of them, you have a neurotypical brain, you have the neurodiverse brain. Now, its base is definitely the shape of the conformity of their brain is altered in a way that they perceive reality different. They engage in their stimuli different. Some of them can't even perceive what their feelings are, or at least properly articulate or distinguish what the feelings are. Some of them can't speak. Some of them are can't. One of them is that they can't speak. The other ones are that they cannot. I guess no. I think that's it. Yeah, I think it was in terms of speaking and something else. I can't remember if it was the second thing, but for the most part, from what I could tell from the psychological society, they have two distinguishing factors of the neurodiverse or the autistic, and that's what this term is. This umbrella term, in which regards the spectrum of autism, is what's defined as a neurodiverse or neuroatypical brain, which is a brain that's not normal from others. And so that's the reason why I mentioned why they're different. They're different, and even given they're different, the neurotypical brains have more differences within themselves. But I believe this what is this population is what 10%, if not 40%. I know it's a unbalanced percentage of the neurotypical versus the neurodiverse brain. And so I'm going to tell you about my journey, about how I came from okay, and given my social quirkiness and oddities and social ineptitude, how did I get from potential neurodiversity? So I'm going to tell you about it. It's going to take quite a long time. Sorry, it's been 8 minutes, so I'm definitely going to split this up, as I've mentioned in the live chat, and hopefully it works itself out. Okay, so to let you know, name's Danielle. Okay, I mentioned that. Oh yeah. Okay, so for me, when I was young, I was exposed to lead paint, and this was at a certain company. I'm not going to mention them, because I don't know if that really goes within the bounds of legal activity. But I'm going to share my story, and that's my interaction with the lead paint. And it's said that lead paint has issues, and of course, it's going to be in my mind, but in terms of articulating it, it's going to be kind of hard. So one of the things that lead paint does is it gives you learning disabilities. It impairs your learning ability. It impairs your attention span or attention. Gives you attention deficits. See, I wish I would have had a website for this, but and it gives you a bunch of other few things that, in no degree of it is safe for humans, which is the reason why, from what I understand, we don't use lead paint anymore. We use acrylic and some other stuff. But yeah, we don't use lead paint anymore because of the neurological effects it has on children, and that effects can go all the way to adulthood. Doesn't mean that there's no hope. It just means that such a component has a harmful effect on human beings. So I just say it's a certain organization, and I just stated facts. And I believe my dad noticed those effects. I mean, especially given we were born premature, me and my twin brother. And so, given that, he basically did this several-year long legal battle with them, and we finally won. Um, but sadly, it took me about this age, 26, or about 25, 24, somewhere around there, to actually start um, going on my personal journey and discovering who I am as a person fully. You know. Okay, so that's when I started noticing it. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this earlier or mentioned this in my notes, but I do have to mention it now. Uh, During my time at Northern is when I became a Christian, and I guess I'll mention that too again. But during my time as a Christian, I associate a lot of my mental aspects with the Christian aspects, and then so I mentioned a lot of my impulsive actions were like I thought it was the Holy Spirit kind of encouraging me to do stuff. Now, maybe, but I know a clear notion, and I believe I've noticed the difference of an impulsive action versus an action that is defined as a what is it? Not a deterrent, a drawing of the Holy Spirit to do something. I've noticed the difference. Is To me, it's like one of the differences is like a strange confidence that's like do something and you'll be all right. Do this certain thing and you'll be okay. It's like the consuming love that guides me to an action, and it's I don't have to question it. I have full faith and belief in it. I am fully on board with in tune with love to do it, and my intentions are fully in the good to do it. Versus the impulsive need is like do it, do it, do it, and I'm like I don't know why I'm doing it. I just have this impulsive feeling to do it. So therefore, I'm just, maybe I should do it. And it's been, I've done very incoherent and foolish things based off doing it, which made me consider like, this can't be God. Maybe this isn't God, but at some point I was very confused. I was like, man, is this God or not? But now I've understood far more than I did back then about what the difference is. Sometimes I've even had the impulses to do just off the wall, foolish things, and even then, it made me consider my mental state because it was like, what? Okay, I don't really what the heck is it? The parental warning, don't warning. I had this idea, and it was impulsive to me. It was a car that's coming, and I was like, there's an impulse to go in front of the car, and at first, I definitely questioned. I'm like, that's strange. And I noticed that I just had this compulsive need to go in the street. And I was just like, nope, that's not God. And that could be like because like how you feel sometimes you can't, if you don't express it, it kind of comes out of your body and your mental state in other ways. And so in my mind, I'm guessing I was going through stress. This is my assessment is that I was going through stress. And I was like, this was just it was like a mental kind of like maybe like potentially a suicide thought, and it was just like it wasn't really like ideation, it was just like do it, you know and again, like sometimes those impulses are like if you don't do them, you feel off, you feel wrong for not doing them, but they don't make any sense. So I praise God because I'm like I had a better understanding. I thought about it. I'm like, that's probably that. Probably could have been a thought of suicidal thought. So now I'm not going to do it. You know, um, but again, one of the things I'm so grateful of is just learning, knowing, because knowledge is power. People don't understand. I don't know if people understand that, especially in this postmodern world. We just don't really care unless it's our own interest. And it's like, that's a mystery. We don't care about that. It's a mystery. And it's just like, it is like, you should care. You should learn. You should grow. But I think sometimes there's a purpose to ignorance, and at the same time there's a purpose to focusing on not worrying so much or not caring so much, There's just some things you shouldn't put too much stock in, and some things you should put stock in. And with that, I do mean you should. There's some things that should be important or should be placed an importance on, and some things that shouldn't so much. Now let's continue this thought. Now it's 15. Again, we're probably going to break this up into part two. Um, but here's my story. Um, okay, at the time when I was young, I noticed I was a very literalist kind of person. Like I couldn't really handle like double talk or like sarcasm unless somebody explained it to me, and that was like a gracious person. Usually, if somebody told me something and they had to explain to me, they would give up. I remember there was this talk about my brother. He knew about I guess it was this person named Lil Wayne. He had this lyric, and he was telling me, and I guess because Lil Wayne, he likes to speak in double entendres, and so he was telling me, he was like something like I kick you out on your birthday, you know, call it said call me Beyonce, I kick you out on your B day, and then he had to explain it to me. He eventually gave up, but it was like okay, he said he'll throw you. He said call you Beyonce, he'll throw you out he'll throw you out on your birthday. So if that's is unless that's a triple entendre, he mentioned to me that birthday is like one of our albums or something like that. So it was just like, is this it or is there more? So it's like, and so he eventually gave up. So it's like sometimes it's just like sometimes I'm overthinking it. Sometimes I don't think enough about it. But sometimes if I don't have any reference, I don't know what the heck think to make of it. But yeah, I was a literalist, and and at the time when I was real young, you know, from what I can tell, mental impairments or anything like that, it's not really like a mental pain or anything. It's just a state of being, and a state of interpreting the world with the mind that you have. So it's just I didn't feel anything. I didn't really feel like I needed, apart from like, um, yeah, apart from like this whole idea of okay, um, I'm sorry, I'm definitely losing my train of thought. Um, I guess I didn't feel like I needed any assistance because I didn't feel anything. It wasn't something that was apparent to me. And usually things need to be kind of like they're apparent to me before I like address it. And it only took me. I guess I'll wait. It took me a pretty not tragic. I guess you can call it tragic. It took me something tragic to actually start investigating this stuff. And so given that I didn't really feel anything, but for me, like one of the aspects is that I was literal. I was very literal. Like I didn't really get like quick things or double entendres and stuff like that until I actually had to look into them. And now, given I have the knowledge and therefore the reference, I can kind of just like reference stuff like, oh, could this be this? Could be this be that? And given new trends. The age of the internet is a wonderful thing. You can learn so much from it. I just encourage people to just learn if you don't know. Sometimes the comments ain't always the best place, just to also add, because people aren't very gracious in giving away the information. They're like internet, Google. They even had this thing, I believe in Japanese, is from this lady named I have Japanese Emma with me. So she says they had this term called ggrks, GGRKS, which is basically a term for Google it, you effing idiot. Because it's like, you know, don't ask us, go on the internet to figure this out. And so it's kind of surprising and shocking and stifling how people are I'm not using the word stifling, but it's kind of stifling how people like they're not really gracious in helping you. They like we're on the internet. Yes, you could, you know, go to a tab, open up Google, type it in, you know. And one of the things that was so helpful to me is that a friend of mine back in high school, he told me, here's how I figure things out. I punch in the word and then I punch define or definition and I get the definition. Remember that ever since. I've always been using it. If I had a word or something, a term, and even with a class, I learned about, punches, putting stuff up in a as a question mark. So it's just learning. So it's just been a blessing. So I appreciate it. I'm not gonna mention his name, but yeah. Um, let's just say the guy likes Power Rangers a lot. Yeah, and if he's watching this, then thanks. Um, but yeah, I do want to also mention that recently, I used to have these after the legal stuff happened, and that now I recently contacted them regarding information of the case in terms of the neurological aspects, and I got it. So I appreciate you. I guess it's okay to mention them, Mobley Rice. I appreciate them. Uh, my life isn't as I guess it to be, but saying this, I don't know. It helped me come full circle. So I'm hoping, I mean, in this, I believe things will be okay. It's not really where I want them specifically to be, but at the same time, they've come full circle and it couldn't have gone any other way. So I'm grateful for the experience. Okay, so I guess I'm at the point where I'm actually letting you know how I started this journey of self discovery and realizing where I'm at and actually going back to the attorneys and the lawyers and stuff where they actually addressed the issue and fixed it, or rather fix it in terms of a restitution kind of thing, a reparations kind of thing. I'm guessing. I don't know if reparations is the proper word, but I'll call it that. Okay. Now, it could have been. It's always kind of sketchy when I kind of reveal this, but sometime maybe last year, maybe 2 years, maybe this year. I don't know. I'm always kind of vague in my understanding and my knowledge, but I'm guessing pretty much last year I had a really bad breakup. Now, I'm just gonna say it was messy, complicated, but it opened my eyes to self betterment, and it just it kind of drew me far, to figure out what in the world, um, why, why, you know, why did I do this? Why did she do that? You know, and just search for potential answers and just figure out, okay, how can I change myself so that this stuff don't happen again? And that's when it started my journey. This is the preface. Again, as I said in my comments, I'm gonna break these things up because it's gonna be very long if I don't. So next video, I'm gonna explain the journey and explain what my first conclusions were and how did I get all the way over here and how did it come full circle. So ironically, this is like the thesis video and the other stuff will be the videos following. So yeah, I see you in a bit.